Welcome to Call to Post, the Off the Bench Podcast Network feature dedicated to thoroughbred racing. Hosting today's show will be Brandon Ferst, and Brandon will be joined by Raider Jim Martinez. Grab some paper, make some notes, enjoy yourselves. Let's talk thoroughbred racing. Riders up.
What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into another edition of the original Call to Post. Here we break down everything thoroughbred horse racing has to offer. We are getting closer and closer, about 6 weeks away from really the granddaddy of them all if you're a horse racing fan, and double that if you're a San Diego or at least Southern California horse racing fan, and you'll be able to hopefully go to the Breeders' Cup like myself and my co-hosts are going to be able to do. Without further ado, it is time to introduce my partner in crime doing this podcast. It is Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. Mr. Martinez, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. We're still in Southern California with the sun out. Still feels like summer. We're talking horse racing. There's a football game in about an hour and a half. Wow, all we need is some NCAA basketball, and it would be the trifecta, wouldn't it?
Yes, it sure would. And, it's as we get closer and closer, as we get to that Breeders' Cup point, well, guess what? We will have college basketball to break down, or at least getting close to that. I think that's around the first weekend or so. So definitely got something to look forward to. But as always, our focus now, kind of after the May part of the schedule, it is looking ahead to the Breeders' Cup. And this is going to be very special for a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, we're going to see a lot of the juveniles going at it this weekend, or at least punching their tickets in. And selfishly, for both myself and Raider Jim, this is a great opportunity. We know we'll be there on Friday, which is, of course, coined Future Star Friday, where you're going to see a lot of the 2-year-olds. So it'll be really nice for us to kind of break these races down. And then, we're going to be talking about 3 or 4 of these, if not more, when we actually do get to Del Mar on that first Friday of November. But of course, as always, we have got to get through kind of building the field before we can get there. Some news early on, before we get to it, the Bob Baffert situation. Obviously, the fallout from Medina Spirit is continuing. Churchill Downs has come out, or I believe a couple weeks after the positive test was announced, that Bob Baffert's horses will not be able to run at Churchill. And they've kind of nipped it in the bud already by coming out now about a week ago saying Bob Baffert, his horses will be ineligible for Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks points. So, I don't think we'll see too many Bob Baffert horses running in these, but if there are, at least these are, remember, the Kentucky Derby preps and the Kentucky Oaks preps, which is still about 6 months away, but still, we are going to be talking about the Iroquois today, which will not only get you into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I think that's just the Juvenile Open. And then there will also be, I believe, 20 points towards the Kentucky Derby. So technically, we will have our first, at least somewhat, Derby contender when the Iroquois all wraps up this weekend. But Raider Jim, I know you had some other news about a jockey back east that got caught with just a really unfortunate story.
Yeah, apparently the picture out on the internet, and it was at Monmouth Park. It was Tomas Mejia. He's been suspended for 10 years because he rode into the winner's circle, and somebody literally said, "Hey, what is that in his hand?" It was an electronic device he was using, to encourage the horse to run, if you will. He has been suspended. He was fined $5,000, but he has been suspended from riding by the New Jersey Racing Commission for 10 years. And they have revoked his license for the state. Now, does that mean he can go race in New York? I doubt it. Could he go to Kentucky? I imagine he could go anywhere, because as of now, they don't have anything in place that is governing everything, which they are striving to do through the Horse Racing Safety and Integrity Act. But until then, he may be able to freely run out to the west if anybody will have him and run at Santa Anita. He could run at Churchill. He could run at places like that. But just what a it does make you think. It makes you wonder, as you and I talked before you hit record on this, is this really an isolated incident? And we
It's
would like
hard to, for me, even, this is not nearly as egregious because we're just talking about, baseball and cheating in that way, not really affecting an animal. And that's what's going on here. But, with the Astros, when they were getting caught doing their thing, I don't care what anybody says. There's no way the Astros were the only team doing it. They were probably the only ones who got caught. And obviously won a World Series while they did it. But at the end of the day, I don't believe this is an isolated incident. However, I don't think we're going to see, other jockeys kind of retire or, things like that. I think they've realized, okay, this guy got caught. If you are doing it, you have to stop. I really do hope that it was an isolated incident. The pessimist in me, unfortunately, doesn't believe that is the case, but at least in Mr. Mejia's case, justice at least was somewhat rightly served. $5,000. Hey, maybe there's like a maximum they can fine people, but 10-year ban with only $5,000 doesn't really line up. But hey, once again, I don't quite understand. I'm sure there's some maximum that he hit, because 5,000 seems very, very low to me, especially when you told me that this year he's had over $1 million in winnings. That is, obviously the 10 years, at least, like you said, I don't think there are too many trainers that are going to be lining up to get this guy to ride their mounts. But at the very worst, he's going to be 10 years without a job at least. So he's going to have to figure something out. But once again, you do the crime, it's time to do the time, because this is an egregious situation. It's, I believe, almost nearly on par with the doping of horses on the trainer side of things, because once again, I just, you knowingly do this, and I know you want to win, and I know horses are big animals and things like that, but when you start to mess with electricity and voltage, that could be really, really bad. And even for, another horse that comes off to the side and, gets a little tap or something, and what's that feeling? It's very, very dangerous. Obviously, luckily justice at least has been served for Mr. Mejia.
And when you think about it, this for this electronic device, whatever level of electronics it was doling out to the poor horse. But think about it, because already the jockeys and the jockey associations around from coast to coast were, hey man, why are you guys clamping down on us with this crop rule? Because they just came, on the West Coast at least, it was the crop rule. You can only use it under certain situations. You have to use it with an underhand grip. You can't, and that created quite a stir in the jockey world. And now this happens. So wow,
yeah. It's very, very unfortunate. Luckily, it was caught when it did, when it was. Now, how long has it been going on? That's another question. But at the end of the day, he will not be riding horses, at least in New Jersey. And like I said, probably not on the North American scene, outside of, some desperate situations, as should be. But time to look ahead to this weekend. We have 6 Breeders' Cup win and you're in races, so no time to spare. We will start at the aforementioned Churchill Downs. This is the beginning of the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby kind of run-in, if you will. We will start with the Pocahontas. It will be going off this Saturday, as I said, for the fillies, and this will get you some points for the Kentucky Oaks. Remember, Oaks are going to be filly races only, so the Pocahontas will get you some points for that. But more importantly, at least coming into this weekend, it will get you a ticket into the juvenile fillies at Del Mar on that Future Star Friday. As I just pull up, make sure I have the right number. Okay, so yes, it's going to be race number 8, going 1 mile and 16 on the dirt. It is the grade 3 Pocahontas, 300,000 for obviously 2-year-old fillies. I'll get this one started. The first horse that kind of jumped out to me, and I'm just finally kind of seeing the morning line numbers. I was able to look them over last night without the morning line numbers. The one that definitely jumped out to me, not a huge surprise considering it is now 5-2, is what is that? On the 1s and 2s. That's going to be a Norm Cassie trained horse with Santana board. This is a horse that has been competing at a bit of a higher levels, won its debut back in May at Churchill. The last 2 runs it's had has performed admirably, but has been, the favorite in those, has yet to hit the winner's circle. The 81 in the debutante back in June, I think, is a big reason why the numbers are the way they are here. I will kind of bring out the fact that it's been Florent Giroux and Irad Ortiz on this horse in its first 3 runs. Ricardo Santana will be aboard here. So still a very, very talented jockey, but Florent Giroux and Irad Ortiz, definitely the best of the best. I am also very, very big on the 2-horse Goddess of Fire. Only 1 career run, but it was at a maiden special weight, 100,000. That's a very high class for these horses. Obviously, got that win in that one. Goddess of Fire went out, ran only a 67, so we'll need to improve if it does want to bring down on the 1s and 2s, which is 81 and 78 in its first 2 races. Now going back to the grade 2 for the one on the 1s and 2s, the Adirondack only ran a 55. Going to have to improve on that. The other horse that I'm keeping an eye on that's a bit of a long shot here is going to be, where did it go? Majestic de Oro. First of all, I'm a huge fan, especially on the Philly side, whenever you see one of these de Oros, because more than likely you have that breeding of Magdalena de Oro, which is a fantastic dam, which is technically the grandmother here, but it ran a 72 in its debut, looked really good, won by 6 lengths at 6-1 in a maiden special weight, 34,000, so a little smaller. The last one that caught my eye was the Hidden Connection, by far the best buyer score out of everyone, put up an 84. However, that was its only race, and it was about a month ago, pretty much on the dot. So plenty of opportunities here. Now, I'll be the first one to admit, when it comes to 2-year-olds, definitely not my strong suit, but it's definitely an opportunity for these horses to make a statement, especially early on. This is an opportunity to kind of make your statement for what you want to do towards the tail end of your 2-year-old season, heading into, of course, your 3-year-old season, which in their mind, hopefully will culminate at Churchill in the Kentucky Derby. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on race number 8, the Pocahontas Stakes at Churchill Downs?
Well, for 2 guys that didn't talk before before the show here, I think we're pretty much on the same line of thinking. I have a little bit of a switch up. I actually have number 2 Goddess of Fire as my first pick. I think that's just a very strong horse and it's going to do real good out of the gate. And I also like the fact that it got the 2 position. I think Fletcher at the 2 position, Castellano on board, that's going to be a strong run. 6-1 is probably going to drop down a little bit. You can probably, I don't know if it will move all the way to 4, but keep your eye on the line. And of course, then, as you said, the number 4 horse on the 1s and 2s out of Kentucky, Rafael Santana and Case, great jockey trainer combination, 5-2. That will undoubtedly stay the same. It may move just a little bit, but I don't think we're going to see big movement on that. Hidden Connection is also on my ticket as one of the ones I like. That's the 9 horse at 9-2 right now. But the one that I think is I'm going to keep an eye on, the currently at 6-1, but just because we're at Churchill Downs and it's the Kentucky horse Maxine Machine, the 6 horse right in the middle of the pack, trained by Brad Cox, ridden by Florent Giroux. You just can't overlook that jockey trainer combination. And 6-1, boy, that's a great number, I think, for this horse. For this horse to finish in the money is not going to be a surprise. But if I was going to go underneath with anybody else to fill in on my card, or looking for a bit of a long shot that could come in and finish in the money, you might want to give a look at Lemieux, the 10 horse with Tyler Gaffalone on board. That's a Mark Haas trained horse as well. Right now at 10-1, I think that's going to move down to probably more of an 8-1 line. If it moves up, then that tells you there's something going on behind the scenes that we're just not, our eyes and ears are not familiar with. But I would keep an eye on the line on Lemieux as well. So we've got 2 Goddess of Fire, 4 on the 1s and 2s, 6 Maxine Machine. Yeah, I got that right. 9 Hidden Connection, and then underneath maybe with 10 Lemieux.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one too, just kind of looking at, the speed numbers, or at least the time form pace. There is not a lot of late speed. I'm a huge fan, actually, at just kind of looking things over of Maxine Machine, mainly for the fact that this is probably going to be the horse that has probably the best, final 2 or 3 furlongs, definitely the most speed on the back half. So you might see an opportunity, this horse run somebody down to get into the money. None of the favorites, none of the horses that we really talked about, except for Maxine Machine, have run really a length, or this length of a race. You're looking at a lot of 6 furlongs, 6.5 furlongs, 5.5 furlongs, or a couple, Mama Rena ran at 1 mile and 16. Like I said, Maxine Machine's gone at 1 mile. Miss Shamlita will be also at 1 mile, but I don't think any of the big, horses we just talked about have ran at the mile. So keep an eye on that. And I think it just kind of even bolsters the Maxine Machine effect, because this horse more than likely will have more late speed than anyone. And, if any of these horses, especially, Goddess of Fire and 1s and 2s, that might turn into to a point where both jockeys are having to pull back on those horses, because they both really want the lead, but at the same time have never gone more than 6.5 furlongs, which this is a mile and a 16th. So at least a couple furlongs longer. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but really, really good start to that. It'll be the Pocahontas. Moving on to
and one more, if I may.
Yeah.
The 4 horse on the 1s and 2s, the only, not real, nothing dramatic, but if I was going to say a question in my mind, it would be, hasn't run in 41 days. And the last time out came in 6th. So why the favorable number? I do not know how it becomes the morning line favorite. That's the track handicapper's job to figure that one out. But again, keep an eye on that line. Maybe that horse does not leave the gate at 5-2. Maybe it moves to all the way to 3 or 3.5. So just food for thought.
Yeah, and that's a great call, especially, considering this is a horse, even going back further, hasn't won since, early May. Correct. And the last 2 times out have been, pretty much, 5-2 and 2-1 in its last 2 runs, has only made it in the money once. So maybe an opportunity to find some value elsewhere. And I think we gave you plenty of options outside of on the 1s and 2s, but the grade 3 Iroquois Stakes will be going as well, 1 mile and 16. These will be for the 2-year-old colts. This will, of course, get you into the TVG Juvenile on that Future Star Friday and get you some points towards the famed Kentucky Derby. $300,000 is the purse. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors to start us off on the Iroquois.
Yeah, I think out of this one, you're definitely there's a strong chance that this is when Steven Asmussen gets his ticket, and maybe we'll run into him on Friday. Who knows? If we're going to be there on Friday and he's there on Friday, anything can happen. But number 6, Stellar Tap, the Kentucky horse, right now at 3-1, Rafael Santana on board. And then his other entry, definitely money shot, is number 9, Guntown. And that's Tyler Gaffalone. I mean, this guy has the great draw on the jockeys, that's for sure. So I've got those 2, Stellar Tap, Guntown, Bourbon Heist. I like Bourbon Heist on the outside, although 11 is a bit wide, but if they can get a nice break and fall into the pack going around that first turn, they can position very well with this horse. And Bourbon Heist is a very nice horse. And then the other one I have down here is closer to the middle of the field. Actually, it's in the 8th position. 4-1, Todd Fletcher's Major General. I think Major General is going to make some noise. Now I have to switch screens. I really should have made notes. I shouldn't have fallen asleep on the couch.
Every time. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the past performances of these horses. Everybody out either finished 1st or 2nd that's running. It's a fantastic field. I see anybody that is out of line as far as what my picks up front have been. The big winner of the group has been Stellar Tap, $55,000, but has had 42 days off. And that always, again, maybe that's good training sessions, but it's still, 42 days without a race. And that is the longest of all the horses aside from the post horse Tough to Tame. Tough to Tame hasn't run for 44. But with that said, I'll stand by my picks, which are Stellar Tap, Major General, Bourbon Heist, and Guntown.
I agree with, once again, pretty much all of those. Stellar Tap and Major General, that's going to be very interesting to see which horse can get out to the lead. Just two incredibly fast starting horses. Now, on both of those, once again, stretching out a little longer, 7 furlongs for Stellar Tap, 6.5 furlongs for Major General. Both of these horses only ran at in one race, but both of them won their maiden special weight 100,000. And for Major General, can also say that, hey, you know what, this is a horse they beat that beat Bourbon Heist going back to let's see, that was the 21st of August at Saratoga. So Bourbon Heist as well is another horse to keep an eye on. Now, for Bourbon Heist, this is the only horse in this field that is yet to make it into the winner's circle. So 9-2 for a horse that, obviously hasn't tasted the winner's circle. Not exactly for me a deal breaker, but definitely a situation where I maybe do find myself, taking a breath on that, trying to find something else. Going back to Guntown, though, besides the fact that, look, this horse ran very well, definitely ran up to expectations back in August the 13th. This is a horse that has fantastic pedigree with Gun Runner as the sire. I mean, Gun Runner is definitely one of this generation's best, most popular horses. And for Steve Asmussen, it's kind of like he said, he's got two really, really good shots to make it in to that TVG juvenile. And then, of course, also to start kind of building up these horses' resume for, of course, the Kentucky Derby. But it's hard to get away from Stellar Tap and Major General along with Guntown. There is going to be plenty of value, especially if, some of these other horses do sneak in a little later. I will throw 10-1 out there, and it is Strike Hard. This is a horse that put up a 78 buyer score last time. It was at Gulfstream. It was the 29th of August. That's a very, very positive sign. Now, if you go back, earlier, about 3 weeks before that, only ran a 62. However, it's showing at least signs that this is a horse that can do something. At 10-1, you're definitely got some value there, but it's going to be very difficult for that horse to kind of run down any of those 4 horses that we've kind of already touched on.
There's another horse, as I'm doing my real-time research here. Watch the 3 horse, also at 10-1 right now. The 3 horses, Roger Queen, 3 starts, 2 times to the winner's circle, has won $112,000. And has run within the last 34 days. That's a horse you want to take a look at. If that horse goes off at 10-1, I'm going to be real surprised. I think you're going to see more of an 8-1. If you can get that horse for 8-1 on your ticket underneath, definitely want to play that.
Definitely. Yeah. There is a lot. And a lot of times when you have 2-year-olds, a lot of value, you're going to have your big 3 up front that are going to be, between 4-1 and even money. And then everyone else is kind of, like we said, 10-20-1. And the great opportunity to make some money here on these 2-year-olds. Always, I always kind of liken them to kind of high school athletes, just because they struggle, at the 2-year-old level does not mean this horse is not cut out to race at these levels. It just takes some of these horses a little longer to maybe get their legs underneath them, literally, pun intended there. But moving on to Belmont Park, we got one race. It is the Jockey Club Derby Invitational. It's going to get you into the Longines Turf. That will be a Saturday race, I do believe. But this Jockey Club's Derby Invitational is a $1 million purse. It's race number 10 at Belmont, going 1.5 miles on the inner, wider turf course. So we will see how this one goes. Your favorite is going to be the 2-horse Yibler, but that horse is 2-1. It will be making its North American debut It's going to be Charles Appleby and Jay Spencer. Unknown about both of those, but that does not necessarily mean anything. It's a 3-year-old that has made over 280,000 in its career. A lot of international flavor here. The other horse that is going to be very small number is going to be the 4-horse, another Great Britain horse. It is Soldier Rising. This is a horse that has a ton of late speed. It's had one run in the States. It was at Saratoga back in the 7th of August. It did finish second there as a 15-1 shot, ran very, very well, a 94 on the turf. As I keep going down here, there it is right there. The other horse that has been at least somewhat productive here on the North American side is Bolshoi Ballet. That's an Irish horse, 5-2. The two races this horse has had in the States, it's been at Belmont and Saratoga. It won at Belmont in the Belmont Derby, the grade 1, and it ran in 86 and then improved on that in the Saratoga Derby Invitational back in the 7th of August and ran in 88 on their turf. That 8 horse is the horse that I'm actually kind of the heaviest on. This is a horse that's going to have a ton of early speed and very, very competitive late. Aidan O'Brien is a fantastic trainer, even if he isn't necessarily, he's more, in Great Britain and Ireland and more in Europe than anything. But Aidan O'Brien is a fantastic trainer that, look, I think we learned our lesson a little bit last year, at least I did, by counting out some of the international horses at the Breeders' Cup. This is an opportunity for you to kind of see these horses up close, or at least live in the States at a somewhat reasonable hour. So it's going to be really, really interesting because pretty much all the favorites here are going to be international horses, or at least, for the favorite, the 2-horse Yibber, this is going to be making its North American debut in, a very, very competitive field. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the 3-year-olds running in the Jockey Club Derby Invitational?
Well, I'll tell you what we learned last year during the Breeders' Cup races is obviously horses aren't affected by international travel and time zones. They just know it's time to put on the pads and go play football, if you will. Yibber, the number 2 horse, 2-1. Good horse. I understand why it's 2-1 because 10 starts, 4 wins. It's a 40% win percentage. Won the last time out. And my favorite, no, I'm with you. I kind of lean more towards Bolshoi Ballet. I really think that's a great horse. I think that's the horse that has a great chance. Also, the 4-horse Soldier Rising. Soldier Rising, 5 starts, 2 times in the winner's circle, came in second the last time out. Earnings averaging 46,000 per start. Now, the one that I do like, this is a strong horse, but it's had a 70-day layoff, and that's the 3-horse currently at 8-1, Tokyo Gold. This is a dynamic horse, has won a lot of money, 8 starts, 3 wins, 8-1. If you can get that horse at 8-1, or even just a little bit lower, 7-1, 6-1, boy, I would jump all over that on my ticket. And then just because I have to, I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to put the post position horse, the 1 horse, on my ticket because I don't bet against Flavien Prat. And Flavian's back there, and he's going to be riding this horse at 12-1. I'm going to be surprised if that number stays at 12, if it doesn't move down to 10, just when people see what the combination is there, and to have Flavien Prat, best jockey on the West Coast for sure. If not in the nation, but it's another, this is like when we look at the Del Mar cards and we see the names of the jockeys, what an all-star lineup this is. So for the Belmont race, I've got Bolshoi Ballet. Yibber is on my ticket, but lower. Soldier Rising, Tokyo Gold. You even want to give a look at Slick Back. Slick Back is a 50%, 4 starts, 2 times to the winner's circle, came in second the last time out. Has only had 18 days off, which can be a positive because that means the horse is loose, it's in good shape, probably has had some good training sessions, which I will go on and look at and see how the training has been going. And but I would definitely look at that possibly underneath on my ticket as well.
Yeah, and great call on the 3-horse Tokyo Gold. This is a horse that really turned a corner this year. Last year, a 2-year-old season, kind of going on what I was talking about, on the last races with the 2-year-olds. You don't always know what you're going to get, but this is a horse that was running. Now, these are time forms, so time forms a little different than the buyers, but still you could understand high numbers, that's fast. But anyways, it was running 65, 50s, even a 78 in its 2-year-old season. This horse has not been below 88 in the time form. And then in its North American debut, like you said, on the 10th of July, long layoff for sure. However, it did run an 85 in that Belmont Derby, actually just fell about a length behind Bolshoi Valley, or excuse me, Bolshoi Ballet. And that was a horse for Tokyo Gold that came off 16-1 and did a heck of a job to run very well to get into the money. Might see another opportunity here. I don't think you're going to see Tokyo Gold get up to 16-1, but even then, it will be an opportunity for this horse to make some money for you, give you some value at Belmont. So that, of course, once again, will get you into the Longines turf. And now it is time to turn our attention to our friends up north of the border. It is Woodbine as we get you ready for the, let me see, where am I? Okay, I got to make sure, because we actually have Saturday and Sunday. Luckily, Woodbine gave us some Sunday PPs to deal with. So we will start with the Saturday race. It is the Woodbine Mile. As I get myself ready here, that's Sunday. Okay. Woodbine Mile. It's going to be race number 10 going off about 3:15 East or Pacific, 6:15 Eastern time. It's $1 million purse going a full mile on the turf. This will get you into the FanDuel Mile on Breeders' Cup weekend. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors to get us started on the Woodbine Mile.
Yeah, Woodbine kind of crept up on me, but I think we can do this. I think I can make this happen. The favorite
I can
for
go
me
first myself if you need to.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I think, it's a 10-horse field. I like the horse in the middle of the field, and that's Set Piece out of Great Britain. Brad Cox horse. What are you going to say? Brad Cox is the trainer. Joel Rosario is riding the horse. And then I also like, and right now is currently at 5-2, not the favorite. The favorite is the 7-horse Raging Bull out of France. And that horse has a lot of potential, as does, let's see, Raider Comet. Raider Comet is another horse I like in this field. Flip my screen here real quick. There, one snapshot. Olympic Runner. Olympic Runner is an interesting horse at 10-1. I'm going to keep an eye on that line because Olympic Runner has run within the last 34 days. Came in first the last time out. Doesn't have a stellar record, 22% winning percentage, but still, every now and then you get that horse that just steps up. Could be the week that this horse steps up. Horses are kind of like they're special athletes because they seem to know when to really step up when it's the big race. So I do like Set Piece. I like Raging Bull. I would even give a look at March to the Arch and Raider Comet.
Yeah, I'll add one more into that for myself at least. And there's a ton of value here. I don't necessarily know this is, if this is a across the board horse, but the 10-horse Space Traveler is currently 12-1 right now. This is a horse that's ran in, at least in the States, twice in its career, or at least that I've seen, has ran 96 both times on the turf. And then even before that, we're looking at, Goodwood, Ascot, York, Doncaster, obviously Great Britain tracks. But pretty much every time this horse steps onto the course, at least this year, the time forms have been in the triple digits. And that's just something, once again, buyer score time form, it's, there's ways to, kind of, find ways what the similarities are. But even when you're getting into the triple digits, that's something you're really, really going to have to look at 12-1. We'll see how that goes. A lot of late speed So going into that, that final turn, wherever Space Traveler is, hopefully not a ton of traffic to get through because it's going to have a ton of speed coming out. I believe you already talked about Raging Bull, but this is a horse that, ran in the 4-star Dave, and that was a grade 1 and was actually the favorite there. Lost out to, of course, Got Stormy and the horse you talked about earlier, Set Piece. So they need a big bounce back here for Raging Bull. So we'll see if that horse will actually get it done. This horse also did run last year in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and I finally got that horse. I feel like every time I talk about international horses at the Breeders' Cup and my, I guess, angst, it's this horse, Order of Australia. I think it was 65, 70 to 1 or something, and came in and got the win. So just a fun little fact there. But this is a horse that obviously last year was in the Breeders' Cup Mile. If Raging Bull does what the odds makers expect it to do, it will punch its ticket as well. And then just to touch on Set Piece as well, a ton of consistency here. This is a horse that even still runs in the 90s on dirt. Obviously, this will be on turf, but the last 3 runs for Set Piece, obviously, last time out was that 4-star Dave where it finished second to Got Stormy. And then, the Wise Dan, and there was another one at Churchill on the 29th of May. But all three of those runs have been in the triple digits on the buyer score, 100, 100, and 101. So Set Piece and Raging Bull probably going to be between those 2 horses. Write a comment as you kind of brought up, and maybe even March to Arch. But for me, I don't know, Space Traveler is a horse. It's kind of a world traveler as well. It's been, it has its fun in the States. It pretty much runs 1 race in the States a year. And this is the opportunity. Obviously, it would like to run 2 this year because that means it's going to Del Mar in about 6 weeks, but it needs to take care of business here at the very least and show that it at least deserves to be at this class. It will have some work to do, obviously, with these other horses, but a lot of late speed from that one. So keep an eye on Space Traveler. But it is time to move on to Sunday. Back to the juveniles. I believe, let me just make sure. Yes. So we will have the Natalma Stakes first up that we'll be talking about. It'll be for 2-year-old fillies going a mile on the turf, staying at Woodbine. This will be Sunday, September 19th, going off around 2 o'clock Pacific time, or let's call it 2:10 Pacific time, 5:10 Eastern time. Do the math in between. This will get you a ticket into the juvenile filly turf. So let's dive in. I will take the reins on this one. Perfect. All right. So this is a grade 1, $400,000 purse. I don't have morning line numbers for these horses just yet. I'll probably come out tomorrow. But in terms of, just the buyer scores and what these horses has done, the first horse that jumps out to me is Diabolic out of Ireland. They don't have numbers from them either. So let me just try and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like the 7 horse. You got another Mark Casse horse going at it. This is a horse 3 for 3 in its career. And every single time, or at least the last 2 times, have won by a length or more, beat Royal Engagement twice, and also beat Miss Barbara. Both of those horses are running here today. And the other horse that jumped out to me was Eminent Victor. You got Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown. That's kind of all you need to say, right? But I'll go a little deeper into it. Obviously, Eminent Victor won in its first race about 2 months ago. So a long layoff here for that horse. Won at Arlington Park. And then at this point ran a 74. However, it was on dirt. So it will be its turf debut, or at least racing wise. So we'll see how that kind of switch goes to. But that's another one. And then, of course, Royal Engagement as well. Last time out, even though did not beat Diabolic and has yet to beat Diabolic, ran a 75 on the turf. So that horse, definitely has the speed and capabilities. If, we see somewhat of a, I'll call it an off day from Diabolic, but for me, everything that I'm seeing right here, Diabolic is that horse that I think is definitely the class of the field. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on the Natalma Stakes?
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on Diabolic, the horse to beat. 3 for 3, $147,000 in winnings. Ran within the last 30 days, won the last time out, as you have already noted. I also like the horse, the post horse. I do like Bakshish. I've seen Bakshish run. Good horse. 1 for 3 this year, $120,000. Has only had 20 days off, 21 days off. Was in the winner's circle the last time out. You got to keep an eye. Bakshish is going to run out of the 6th spot. I might have misspoke on that, but it's going to run out of the 6th spot, which isn't a bad place to run when you've got an 8 horse field, I believe it is. 8, is it 8? 9.
Yeah, I think it's 9 or 10.
9
I
horse
don't have
field.
the numbers.
Not a bad position though. And then Royal Engagement also, again, not a bad horse, 1 for 3. So 33% in the winning percentage. Second the last time out, as you already noted again. But I do like Eminent Victor. I just don't know about the lengthy layoff, the 64 days off. 1 for 1, but as I believe you noted, that is the horse that is going to be ridden by our buddy Flavian Pratt, and you just can't go wrong with that jockey trainer combination. I know they're in the, I believe they're in the high 20 or 30 percentile for jockey trainer win combination. So I would stick, I would definitely put that one underneath on my card.
Definitely. And I'll throw one more in there as well. Ready Lady is the one horse. This is a horse that won its debut, maiden special weight 79,000. Beat Gulliful. Gulliful is probably not a horse to be contended with here, but does obviously 1 for 1. And another thing that I really do like about this horse is the fact, just looking at its workouts. If you watch its dirt workouts, not incredibly impressive. However, the last time out, it was actually last Saturday, the 11th of September at Woodbine. This horse worked out to a very, very fast, had the fastest 5 furlong time of the day on the turf. So that could be something that, for whatever reason, this horse, I'm looking at its last, 6 workouts, 5 of them have been on dirt, but at least the last one was on turf, and definitely took steps forward there. But for me, like I said, Diabolic is the class of the field here, and you're probably going to want to try and find some place show picks as well. But moving on to the final race we're going to be talking about heading into this weekend. It is once again on Sunday. It is the Summer Stakes, the juvenile turf, going a mile on the turf course at Woodbine, $400,000 purse for 2-year-olds. And yes, as I said, it will get you into the juvenile turf. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors here on race number 9 at Woodbine.
Yeah, my favorite, as you mentioned, we don't have morning line numbers on any of these horses, but I do like the horse on the outside, First Empire. First Empire, 2 for 3 on starts, $122,000 in earnings, ran within the last 30 days and finished in the winner's circle. There's also Albar. Albar is running on the, let's see. Albar is running out of the 4 position. Now, 3 for 4, good record, good winning percentage, not big races, but has run within the last 30 days, also finished in the winner's circle the last time out. You also have to give a look, I believe, to Dripping Gold, 1 for 1, been off just over a month, but finished in the winner's circle the last time out. Those would be my 3. And then let's see, Dripping Gold is going to run out of the post position, which I actually like. If they can get a good start on that one, horse has a good chance to pace and then, hopefully hang on for to finish in the money. So I would like to go over that again. It is First Empire, Alvar, Degree of Risk, and Dripping Gold.
This is an interesting race for me because a majority of these horses, and not First Empire and not Dripping Gold and not where was it, Albar, but pretty much all these other horses, at least they've debuted or have predominantly ran on dirt. And believe me, switching from dirt to turf isn't crazy. It's not unheard of. but maybe switching from dirt onto turf to go into a grade 1. That's a little more kind of head scratching, and we have a lot of horses doing that. Starting with Dripping Gold, obviously you got Joel Rosario. This is a horse ran very well at a very high class at Saratoga, excuse me. Maiden special weight 100,000 and ran very well, won by 2.5 lengths to put up a 73. You're looking at the workouts as well. I'm a big fan of that September 5th workout where it was second fastest out of the 53 horses that ran for 4 furlongs that day. But for me, First Empire, this is a horse last 2 times out have put up a 76 and an 80. Those 2 runs are already better than any other run that at least these other horses have had on turf. We have seen, I take that back as I see Degree of Risk did put up a 7. No, we're good. 75 for Degree of Risk. But there are plenty of horses here that have ran in the, 70s or so, but they've done it on dirt. First Empire has really, really shown that this is a horse that is probably going to be a predominant turf horse, and 2 for 2 on the turf, both at Woodbine as well. All three of its runs have been at Woodbine, but the last 2 were on turf and were good enough for the win. Is stretching out a little. Obviously, let's see, it was 6.5 furlongs, the longest it's ran. But for these 2-year-olds, that's kind of par for the course. Nobody debuts at 1 mile and 16. You kind of, gradually get there, 5.5 furlongs, then 6 furlongs, then 7, and then you go from there. So the distance might not be that big of a deal for a lot of these horses. But this is going to be really, really interesting because once again, I hate to just kind of talk about only 2 horses, but the way it's looking, I mean, First Empire and Dripping Gold, these are 2 really, really good horses. The other horses have been okay, but they've been okay or above average on dirt. So until I see those horses run well on turf at a grade 1 level, I can't really go fully all in on them. But Dripping Gold and First Empire, you want to, combo those. You want to get the exotic bets in. I think a $5 Quinella, I think you'll feel really, really good about that. Or it might be a boxed exacta. I don't know. I think the Quinella is kind of only a West Coast thing for whatever reason, but a situation there. So Woodbine, 3 big races, obviously culminating in the summer stakes. 6 tickets this weekend are going to be punched. Plenty of juveniles, which is really exciting for this podcast because that's the one where we definitely know we will be there on Future Star Friday. We'll be seeing these juveniles get rolling, and we'll see them up close. And there's a very good chance that we're going to see a future Kentucky Derby champ live and in person there at the Breeders' Cup on Friday. But with that, Raider Jim, final thoughts for another episode of the original Call to Post.
Yeah, I wanted to bring attention to one more race at Churchill Downs. It's going to be the 10 race on Saturday. And the reason I would tell you to tune in and keep your eye on that one after the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series races are over. The 10 race is the Locust Grove Stakes, and it's going to feature the 5-horse Ebutant, which is not the favorite. The favorite is number 7, She Dares the Devil.
Oh.
And if you are a fan of that horse, you don't want to miss a running this week. And if you aren't familiar with her, you need to watch. Just another fine example of why I call thoroughbreds some of the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, She Dares the Devil. I'll never forget that unorthodox, but that September Kentucky Oaks back in 2020, where everybody in the world, including ourselves, it thought it was going to be a Swiss skydiver Gamine matchup, and here comes this 15-1 shot. She Dares the Devil. Another thing I also really love about She Dares the Devil, she doubled down about 5-6 months later at Oaklawn Park earlier this year. Where she kind of shocked everyone and beat Latruska. Now, Latruska did kind of come back in the Ogden Phipps earlier and kind of avenge that. But for She Dares the Devil, this is kind of building towards the distaff. There was a long time in tennis, and still might be, I'm not really full of it or up to date on it, but before the Federers and the Djokovic kind of came onto the world, that it was the females, the Sharapovas, the Williams sisters, The female side of things, that was the better tennis. The better athletes, or at least the better competition, was on the women's side of things. I think we might see the same thing heading into the Breeders' Cup. If we get that Breeders' Cup distaff where we get Latruska, She Dares the Devil, Monomoy Girl, Swiss Skydiver, and don't forget about Gamine, who kind of came right back up after a great run, I believe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. That Breeders' Cup distaff may very well be the race to watch. So, and that's a horse right now, She Dares the Devil. If she does everything that she wants to, hopefully she'll be there as well. But either way, that's a great call by you. That She Dares the Devil. You don't ever really want to miss her. And whenever you talk about a horse that's 2-1 followed by, but she's not the favorite, then you better keep listening, because that favorite, obviously at 4-5 morning line, probably going to get closer to 2-5. If we're being honest there. So,
and then also at Belmont race 9, also they've got that one Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race taking place, but the 9 race, also a great race. This is the Jockey Club Oaks Invitational Stakes. You will see Flavian Pratt on board the 6-horse Shandasara out of Ireland. Chad Brown horse at 7-2 right now. This is a race that's going to be worth watching. If you look at the lineup here, you go from 3-1 to 7-2. 15-1 is the biggest spread you've got out there right now, the highest line, and that's Irad Ortiz. But you got both the Ortiz brothers riding, Flavian Pratt on the 6-horse, as I said. Chad Brown has the 6-horse, Shantasara, also has Higher Truth, the 2-horse at 3-1. So you're going to see Chad Brown probably in the winner's circle some way, shape, or form. And a horse that you and I have talked about many, many times before, coming out of the 5 spot, is Madone out of Kentucky. J.R. Velasquez is going to be running, and that's a Simon Callahan trained horse at 6-1. Great field. That is the 9 race at Belmont on Saturday, the Jockey Club Oaks Invitational Stakes.
Amen. And as always, I can't stress it enough, especially all the podcasts that we do. We give you the Twitter handles, and we'd love for you to follow. But when it comes to this podcast, it is crucial that you follow mainly Raider Jim Martinez. He is fantastic on Saturday and Sundays, about 20 minutes before these big races, kind of giving you his thoughts, because once again, a lot of things can change. I mean, we're recording on a Thursday. A lot of things, we could record Saturday morning and a lot of things could change until that race comes off. So it's imperative that you go and you follow Raider Jim at Raider Jim 1090, and myself at First Report as well. Although Saturdays I'm grinding away at work, retweeting if I can, Mr. Martinez's fantastic stuff. But with that, thank you all so much for listening to another edition of the original Call to Post here on the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Thank you all again so much for listening. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon.
Bet smart, bet safe.